I've been talking to you tonight a little bit about optimism. And there's a difference between blind optimism and optimism for a reason. I mean, realism. I think I'm a realist. I know when there's trouble, and I know there's trouble ahead. But there's also a reason to be wildly optimistic, because I think there's about to be a change in leadership in this nation. And that's what we do, unlike any other nation, change leadership. It's peaceful. We don't kill each other. We don't have guns to escort the president in here. We have a change in leadership every 4 years or every 8, and it happens on January 20th. One president moves out of here, and a new president moves in. I talked to the head of the guy at the White House who does this move. It's an amazing thing. He had been working at the White House since Jackie Onassis Kennedy, and all the way through George W. Bush. He left after George W. Bush. He was an older gentleman, and the stories he told me about the few hours in between, just those few hours, when the president writes his last message to the new president and leaves it on the desk, and then goes for the swearing-in ceremony and the parade. And by the time the president comes back from the parade, this is all done. It's quite a fascinating day. A crew comes into this office, and they do the fastest room makeover you've ever seen. And some things stay in this office, and some things don't. For instance, this desk, the Resolute desk, it stays. But everything else is turned over. They put in a new carpet. This carpet is the one we had made for the studio. It is the exact copy of the carpet that was made for George W. Bush. I know it very well because George Bush called me on this carpet right over in that area. I know it very well. You don't forget that moment standing in the Oval Office. This is not what the president's rug looks like now. It has words all the way around it now, and it's brown. But the president gets to choose the style. Light blue, dark, goldenrod, what do you want? Yellow? And they'll paint the walls any way you want, too. Cream, eggshell, taupe. President Obama has, I think, cream and brown stripes on his walls. They'll put in here whatever you want. All of the artwork that the nation owns, everything. New curtains, new photos, new furniture, whatever you want. They also move some things out, whatever the new president doesn't want. When Bush worked in this space, right over here, he had pictures of West Texas, paintings of West Texas. He said the Western art kept him rooted. He had his own preferences. That's why the Remington, the guy on the horse, is right here. But when he left, they left the painting, but took this piece out. Obama had his own preferences when he came in. Obama came in, the Western art was taken off the walls. That was removed. And that's just the way it goes. New presidents have the right to choose their arts, fine. But not everything in this office is art. Some of what you see in the Oval Office reflects more than the artistic taste of the President of the United States. It reflects the worldview of the President. Which takes me to this piece here. The bust of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, one of America's greatest friends ever. Churchill was Great Britain's leader during World War II. He saw the war coming long before, and even the British didn't want to listen to him. They were dead asleep, and they wouldn't listen to him. He warned against appeasement of Hitler, and people said, "You're just a warmonger." He said, "They are building planes to destroy us," and no one would listen. His own party kicked him out. Both parties, he was a pariah. He went back home to paint. He thought his career was over. He appealed to America to support Great Britain in that great struggle after both parties asked him to come back. In 1941, Great Britain was alone in the war. America was still neutral. Well, Germany's planes routinely were bombarding London at night. Churchill wrote to the man who sat in this desk, a man who was in a wheelchair, Roosevelt. He wrote and he said, "Put your confidence in us. Give us your faith and your blessing. Under providence, we will be well. We shall not fail nor falter. We shall not weaken nor tire. Neither the sudden shock of battle nor the long-drawn trials of vigilance will wear us down. Give us the tools, and we will finish the job. Winston Churchill. He was supremely confident in America, more confident in America than America was in herself at that point. You see, Churchill's mother was an American. He had visited America, gotten to know her people, and he understood America. He believed in America. He knew America would have to enter the war to win, to be able to preserve freedom, because he believed America was a great nation, ready to take the role in the world. He was kind of like our British uncle, caring and familiar, but he was stern. And he was the lone voice in the world against weakness, against being timid, against surrender. After the war, after the victory, he warned us again. Don't let down your guard. And the same people that drove him out of office last time drove him out again. He gave the Iron Curtain speech. He described the Soviet domination over half of Europe and the moral evil of communism taking root everywhere. And his voice, like a warning uncle, was the voice we needed again in war and in peace. So after 9/11, when we were reeling, Great Britain's ambassador to the United States, acting at the request of the Prime Minister Tony Blair, gave this bust to the people of the United States. It wasn't a gift. It was a loan. We were to have it as long as we needed it, as long as it was necessary, to give strength and courage to inspire the man who sat at this desk in this office, to give him strength to ward off weakness when he was on the phone. He could look at the strength of the man, to remind him also that Great Britain would always be there, was always an ally, a special friend. But on January 20th, 2009, President Bush left, and President Obama moved in. And shortly thereafter, the British ambassador was told, "We don't need your Churchill anymore. We're giving him back. Here, take it. We don't want it." The British got the message all right. Could you not get the message? That whatever the lesson of Churchill, whatever he said to inspire America in war, in difficult times, in courageous defiance against aggression or dictators, all of that was done. All of that was in the past. All of that was over. America, our new president might say, was ready to move forward, not be restricted by past promises, nor even by its founding documents at times, or its longest alliances. I wonder what Uncle Winston might have said about being kicked out of this room, kicked out of the Oval Office. Perhaps he would have seen it as inevitable. Churchill was a realist, after all. He understood human nature. America, like all nations, will go through periods of vigilance, followed by periods of weakness, the certainty of purpose, followed by periods of confusion. I suppose he would have recognized what kind of period we were entering into. And maybe he would have been resigned to his fate. I'm just artwork, he might say. I'm just a chiseled piece of marble. And in stony silence, I can do nothing. I can say nothing. My power depends on the living. And if they need me, if they want me, I'll be there. But if they don't, it matters not. Whether I sit on the shelves of the powerful, sit on the shelves of the most powerful man in the world to gaze upon, or on a dusty box in an ambassador's library. It doesn't matter. I'll be there when they're ready. I think Uncle Winston was correct. It really doesn't matter who sits over there. What matters is who sits there. Our leaders have a right to find inspiration wherever they find it in history or somewhere else. But where they find that inspiration tells us who they are, what they like, what they believe, what's inside at the core. A president who values the example of Winston Churchill, who values having him in this office, is someone who understands history, understands what Great Britain means to and for America, and what America means for Great Britain. Someone who looks to that bust, values above all those immortal words of Winston Churchill: "We shall defend our island. Whatever the cost may be, we shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds, we shall fight in the fields and in the streets, we shall fight in the hills, we shall never surrender." Never, never surrender. Of course, to be inspired by those words, it means you must believe them to be true today in here. Are we under attack? Is our nation at risk? Do enemies threaten us in our homes and in our streets? If you don't think so, then the words of Winston Churchill really are meaningless. Perhaps our current president thinks that the words of Churchill belong to history. They're no longer relevant. But just watch. History has a way of catching up. America is like Great Britain in the 1930s, powerful, but asleep. The threats are building. So, perhaps the current president thinks America is done with Winston Churchill. But Winston Churchill is not done with America. We'll need him again soon. And that's good news, because I think the next occupant of this office might just ask for that loan to be extended again. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for helping us build this network. May God bless you, and may God bless the Republic. From Dallas, good night, America.